Hello, welcome to Revenant Reads. I'm Vin, and this is the birth year book tag. So this tag was created by CriminOlly, and I was tagged by Mark over at Book Time with Elvis. And these are just some fun tag questions relating to birth year and also to that formative year where individuals turn 18. So the first question is, have you read any books published in the year you were born? Yes, I have, and that would be 1981. If so, what's your favorite and why? I guess my favorite would be Stephen King Danse Macabre. Um, One of his few nonfiction works, and really it's kind of a reminiscence of his on the horror genre, both in literature and in film, really from the 1950s up through the 1970s. And it's very approachable work. It's very laid back and conversational, but he does offer some actually really nice, insightful analysis. I especially always loved his take on the Amityville horror and how much of it is an economic horror story. That the ghost demon haunting stuff is really secondary to what the Lutzes go through as far as their financial troubles. And there's little insights in there like that. And I do like approaching horror films in the way that he does in this, and trying to piece out what they say about the era in which they were created, about fears and anxieties and what people were thinking. And I think this is a good starter text for that kind of deep dive into film, especially, and also literature, of course. But film in particular, there's other works that definitely do end up doing a better job of it. But this is a good starting place if people want to get into kind of a horror film analysis and look at them in a more historically contextual way. I think this is a good place to start. So yeah, Danse Macabre, I think would be my answer for that. Number two, sorry, the other part of that question is, do you have any other favorites? And I would say, yeah, the first volume of Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark by Alvin Schwartz came out in 1981 as well, and I grew up loving those, and especially the illustrations by Stephen Gammell. So now number two, have you read any books published in the year you turned 18? Yes, so that would be 1999. I did just last year read The Elegant Universe by Brian Greene about string theory. That's one. Harry Potter, The Prisoner of Azkaban is another. And he asked if we have a favorite and why. I'd say my favorite would be Gotham, A History of New York City to 1898. It was by Edwin Burroughs and Mike Wallace, and you can kind of see it, I think, behind me. There it is, right there. You can see it saying Gotham. It's a big, thick chunker of a book, but a really good history of New York that was published in 1999. Three, of the last 10 books you read, how many were published before you were born? The last that I finished, 3 of them. The last 10 that I finished. I'm currently reading Thucydides, History of Peloponnesian War, which was way before my birth, but I haven't finished it yet. So I did read Struwwelpeter by Heinrich Hoffmann, the children's book, originally published in German in 1845. I read The Soccer War by Ryszard Kapuscinski, which was originally published in Polish in 1978, and Black Like Me by John Howard Griffin, I believe originally published 1960. So those are the 3 that I read that before my birth year. And he also asked, do you prefer them to newer books? And I guess I often do prefer older books to newer books. As far as history books are concerned, I do like having the latest scholarship available to me. So not necessarily in that sense, but when I'm reading maybe fiction or other stuff, I do like looking at things that are older, because I tend to look at them also as like historical artifacts as well. I like to read literature from, say the 19th century, and not just take it in as a story and entertainment and as an art, but also as a historical piece of its time, and what can it tell me about that era? So I like the doubled way of approaching older texts. So yeah, I do tend to gravitate towards things that are older. Number 4, what's your favorite movie from your birth year and why? I mean, 1981 had some fun fantasy movies. You had Clash of the Titans. You had Excalibur, very kind of dark take on the King Arthur story. Time Bandits and Terry Gilliam, that's fun. But there was also some good horror films that came out that year. You had two pretty good werewolf films. You have The Howling and American Werewolf in London. Evil Dead came out in 1981. I love the Evil Dead franchise, although Evil Dead 2 is probably the one I go to the most. It's Scanners. My favorite, though, I'm not saying it's the best film of 1981, but it is my personal favorite, and that would be Friday the 13th Part 2. And I do think, first of all, I think it's just a fun slasher. I do enjoy it just for that reason. But also, there's a whole nother reason, and it's connected to my birth year. It's the fact that it was filmed locally. It was filmed kind of up the road from where I live and grew up, over in like New Preston, Connecticut area. It was filmed in part on Lake Warmog, and also up in Kent, I think, in like one of the Spectacle Ponds. So when I watched that film, first of all, I recognize some of the areas that they go through. Like there's a kind of an intersection where the teens are on a phone booth, which was not, there was no phone booth there in real life, but I know that spot very well. I know the lake pretty well. In the film, they go to, it's like a bar, but it actually was a real thing. It was a casino, basically, that was built on the lake, that ended up burning down a few years after the movie was made. So there's locals, from my area that are just kind of in the background as extras. So, not only I'm a horror fan, I enjoy Friday the 13th, but also, the actors and actresses that are inside that film, they're basically my parents' age. So there's that kind of sense, where it was filmed the year I was born with people that were my parents' age, in a genre that I love. So for all those reasons, I have a lot of warm attachment to that film. So I would say that's my personal favorite. Not that it is the best out of all those films, certainly not, but it is a favorite. And yeah, the last question is, what's your favorite movie from the year you turned 18 and why? So, this is tough, because, like I said, I turned 18 in 1999, which is widely considered one of the best years ever for film. You've got The Matrix, Galaxy Quest, 13th Warrior, which a lot of people don't like, but I know Steve Donahue's got a fondness for that movie, and it's certainly fun. I like it. But it's had really good horror films that year. You had The Sixth Sense, Stir of Echoes, Blair Witch Project, Ravenous, an unsung classic, as far as I'm concerned, about cannibalism and, Western expansion and Manifest Destiny. But you also have Fight Club, which might still be my favorite, out of all those. Maybe, although there's a lot of really close contenders throughout there. But yeah, and can I say why? I'm not entirely sure. I do think it's fun, it's clever. It's David Fincher, who's an excellent director. I have not read the book that it's based on, but I do love the way that whole film just kind of comes together and is constructed. Yes, so I will say Fight Club for that. And the last thing he says is tag at least one person for each decade you've been alive. This is another situation where I'm late to the game, and most people that I think would actually watch this video have already done the tag. So I'm just going to kind of leave it. If you see this and it looks interesting, then you're certainly welcome to do it. You can consider yourself tagged. And that is it. That is the birth year book tag. So Thank you to CriminOlly for creating it. Thank you to Mark over at Book Time with Elvis for tagging me. And as always, thank you, BookTube.